same one go, though. We got to go to the other one. Oh, yeah. There it is.
Did you guess who that was?
It's a B composer. No.
I thought that was a dead giveaway.
I'm turning on this one, right? Yeah. Very good. Get ready for the ride. That's fine. Okay.
Chopin?
Yes, Sue?
I have a question. You're both obviously playing with both hands. Is your music written in treble and bass clef for each of you, and are you just playing around a C? Middle C or something?
Joanne is two trebles and I'm two basses.
Ah.
Hers is on the left side, mine's all on the right side. But in some scores, they have the two parts written one on top of another, and then in some scores
Turn
they
red
have.
button on the end. Turn it green. Just 2 seconds.
In some scores they have both parts written one under the other, so you can see how the piece matches up. In our cases, her pages are all on the left, mine are all on the right.
Oh, okay.
And we need to write the measure numbers in so that when we practice, if we want to pick it up from a certain spot, we have to write in rehearsal letters and measure numbers so we know where we were picking it up from. Good question.
That must be difficult though, when you, like, timing is important. One's on the left and one's on the right.
Well, that's where the listening,
Yeah.
That's where the listening of what is she doing? Does she always have the melody? And no, I oftentimes have just an accompaniment, but on the other hand, I'm subtly supporting her harmonies on the top. We have always been this way. Joanne is always on the top, and I'm always on the bottom.
Actually, our very first, I think our very first piece, we did it the opposite way.
Yeah.
But then we switched, and then since we switched, we just got used to it. The biggest challenge for playing as a duet is figuring out what to do with our elbows. Because we're sitting so close, and normally if you're a solo piano player, you use a lot of this motion, right? So then when you play with somebody else, you're used to using your elbows, but when you're sitting close to someone, you can't use that elbow the same way. And many of our songs have places where I have to either go underneath her hand, and she's playing notes right on top of my hand when I'm playing notes right underneath her, or vice versa. So we have to decide who's going to go over and who's going to go under.
yeah.
You mentioned that this was a keyboard. What do you usually play on?
Well, we both have grands, and the resonance of particularly the Bizet, that second piece, that very soft piece that we played. Oh, it's turned off. But it resonates on an acoustic piano, and especially on our grands. But when we played stuff on here, nothing resonated. You play a note, and that's it.
The note dies too
The note
quickly.
dies, and so we had to give up the Bizet, the other two pieces that we had. And even the second piece, we were questioning, but we liked it so much that we decided to give it a shot anyway. The other ones, and that's why we decided to do the Beethoven and the Kuhlau, because they're notated differently. They're very notey, and they don't need that resonance as much as the
How long
others.
have you been playing together?
3 years. Yes, Barb.
Was it originally written to have two people at one piano or for two pianos?
It's two people at one piano.
They call that four hands, piano four hands.
Yeah.
That's what it's called.
Yes, they were written for that. The Bizet as well, and actually it's his only piano four hands that he wrote. Yeah.
So what would happen if you had two pianos?
Oh well, that's duos, and Joanne has two pianos, and I have this and my grand.
Technically, we could.
We could, but it's just that where do we go and play where they have two pianos? Zero. So we just don't go there.
You have two grand pianos at your place?
No.
Because I'm a piano teacher, I have an upright piano, and then my dream was always to buy a grand, so I bought a second-hand grand, but I didn't get rid of my upright, because this allows me then to have my students on the grand, and then I play along with them on my upright. Sometimes we'll play the same piece, and especially with the higher grades, it's really important. Sometimes just to keep them on track to play along with them.
And for me, I just acquired this keyboard in September, not only because I wanted to travel with it, Rotary being one of the places, but because I was determined that this year I was going to be, I wanted to be a techie piano teacher. And I used this this year for a student who was in Manitoba, and we FaceTime, and I gave her a lesson while she was in Manitoba and I was at home. And also I'm able to play each hand separately, record it, and on a MIDI file, and send it to a student so that she can practice the left hand to my right hand, and vice versa. So I've learned how to do that this year, and for those that are willing to do that and they have access at home with that technology, then I'm using it just to help.
Are the keys, is the key of each piano close enough that there's no problem?
Yes, yeah, this is A440 and our, yeah.
I think you mean like every piano has a little bit different touch? Is that what you mean?
Well, no, I was really thinking of the
pitch?
the middle C.
The
Is it
pitch?
always the same?
Oh, yes, especially on the electrics, they don't go out of tune.
Yes.
The other ones, we tune them regularly every year. They get a tune up so that they're in good tune.
Yeah.
Now, does this keyboard have an actual field keyboard to it, or is it like a normal electric one where?
No, it does have a feel. It's touch sensitive.
Yeah.
It's got
Keys.
weighted keys, and it's got a light and a tough one. Whatever.
It's got different settings.
Yeah, it's got different settings. For these pieces, we had to change the key touches and the piano, and we figured that out.
It took a bit of experimentation
Yeah.
because that took a bit of experimentation because the different sound sampling that they have here, some of them, the sound was really weak on the top and heavy on the bottom, and vice versa. So we had to find a setting where it was kind of evenly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
balanced, because
Balanced, yeah.
it's very tinny. It's
There's nothing like a real piano. They're getting there, but it's getting close. But
yeah.
nothing replaces the good old acoustic.
And also, I didn't buy an expensive keyboard because my main objective was, does it do this, this, and this? And it was to become techie. So if it did that, that's fine. And also, I was able to practice at home at night. I'm very, very aware of the repetitions that I have to go through to learn a piece. And my poor husband is in the house. So he says it's okay, but I still don't feel comfortable doing so many repeats. So sometimes I will simply go and practice on this and turn down the volume or put on the ears and yeah, the headphones. And that's really, really good. I'm really happy I did buy it.
I have a question for the audience. Could you tell we were having fun?
Yeah. You
It's
obviously enjoy
It's
it.
one of the most fun moments of my week is getting together with Lil and doing music with Lil. So that's why we do it.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay, honestly, the question was, would it really distract you? Because we really wanted to clap between each song.
Well, also, I didn't tell you that, one of the sonatas have 2 to 3 movements.
Yeah.
And so when I said my second piece, I'm not telling you who it is because you'll know by the first 4 notes.
Yeah.
Well, I missed out on that one, but
too thrown off.
yeah, no.
Yeah. We don't let the applause go to our head.
No. But we're not, when we're practicing at home, we go from one to the other and we'd like to keep it that way. We don't hear you. We don't
From
hear
the other
you.
room, yeah.
Somebody else had a hand up.
I've just, Jennifer, when she was younger, was in music festivals and did 1 piano 4 hands. In fact, they did 1 piano 6 hands, but that's when they were really, really little. They were about 8 years old, so you could fit 3 little girls in a piano.
Yes, I have a piece for 3 blind mice.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
3 people at the time.
Yes, she's done that.
Joanne
And
is-
chopsticks as well as another one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
Yes.
Well, are there patterns of interest in learning to play the piano? Like, does it go up and down over decades, or has it been fairly constant in the time you've been involved?
Sorry, are the patterns?
Yes,
Patrick.
yes. I think I know what you're asking. Like in terms of our student population, does it go up and down? The answer is yes. In the 90s, it was fairly high, and I think that was just the economy was really good in the 90s, and so a lot of people were enrolling their kids. And there were also music programs in schools in the early 90s. They withdrew the music programs out of a lot of the schools, and it's just not on parents' radar. The ORMTA group, that's the Ontario Registered Music Teachers Association, is trying to make going to take music lessons more popular. And I would say maybe the mid 2000s to 2010, there was a big drop off, and then I think right now we're experiencing a little bit of a rise in the interest for parents to have their kids enrolled in private music lessons again.
Thank you. Is there any hope that the government will decide to extend to music the thing they extended to sports a few years back?
They do.
They are.
They do.
Yes.
They do. Parents have, I think it's $500 deduction on their income tax for childcare type of thing. But to add to that, the conservatories too. The Toronto Conservatory is easing up on its classic only repertoire. It now has a popular section to it. I've used Conservatory Canada, which is out of Western University, Western, and it always went more on the other side of the classical. The classical included, but they had a keyboard harmony segment to it, where kids learn how to play one line of music and they have to learn how to chord with the left, and I like that. Also, they brought in the contemporary idioms, which is from grade 1 to grade 8, and it's all about jazz, blues, rock, and ballads, and kids can go from grade 1 to grade 8 in that, and that's with Conservatory Canada. Toronto Conservatory is easing up, I'm finding, by bringing in more options for kids to learn a piece of their own liking, as long as it's at that level that they're going for exams. So I like that, and that's okay. So it brings kids, it keeps kids interested, and not just the classical.
Yeah. I think in my own studio, my numbers went up when the Harbour government brought in the arts tax credit for children. And I use that as one of my advertising bonuses, right? So just so that everybody's aware that it's available for them, and I issue receipts. Yeah,
A lot wouldn't be, right?
It's for 16 and under, and it has to be a prolonged program of study, a minimum of 3 months study, and you have to list on the receipt the program of study that the child is doing. All right, so yeah, so it's a specific. There are what's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, there's specifications, yeah. So criteria, yes, there are criteria that they have to meet in order to be eligible. But I think just this year it went from being a 10% to a 15% credit. So that's going in the right direction.
Yeah. Yeah. Are you getting, how many adults do you get as students? Or do you find you get more adults?
I do.
I've got 5 adults right now.
Half of my students are adults.